My name is Kyle Senra, and joining me for this episode is Alessandro Senatore. Senra and Senator, this will be interesting. So for those who don't know, Alessandro is co-host on the Full Press Fantasy Pod. Pure coincidence of the name similarity. Jeff's a genius, though. But yeah, so here we are. Yeah, part of Going for Two Live and episode 3 here. So Alessandro, first off, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to Going for Two.
Well, thanks for having me, Kyle. You know, we just got to keep it with the S's because we all just literally snakes.
Super.
So, yes, super duper.
And that's the introduction of the world, Alessandro.
Oh, come on, man. It's like the Full Press Fantasy Pod over here. I gotta keep it, me.
Absolutely. That's what this series is all about, right? Where you get to know everyone behind great fantasy content, and obviously you're on I'll humbly say one of the best podcasts that's ever existed in all of humanity. I'm also one of the most humble people of all time, so that fits there. But yeah, I think you do a great job, obviously. So again, appreciate the insight here. But
well, I hope so. Oh.
Yeah, Full Press Fantasy Pod. How many episodes running on right now?
I don't know, Kyle. I mean, I think we hit trips, but I can't be sure about that.
Yeah, last episode was 168, I think. So close in on 170. So yeah, yeah, episode 3 here of this new series again through Going for Two. So appreciate that. Appreciate Jeff for the opportunity and the opportunity to get to know you, Alessandro. So again, everything about fantasy football, but where does all that start for you? Does it start with fantasy or does it start with football? And how far back does football go for you?
So football goes farther back than fantasy does. I mean, most of us like football before we like fantasy football. Football for me started back in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey in the place that I'm just not going to name because it's it's kind of hard to say, and it's not really hard to say. I just don't want to say it. No, but East Rutherford, New Jersey. So growing up, my dad was a Jets fan. My grandfather was a Giants fan. So MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford Stadium, whatever 5 different million names it's had over the years, stadium, was right down the road, 20 minutes from me. So I grew up a Giants and a Jets fan, and I just gravitated more towards the Jets because my father, and he wasn't a big football fan, but he was big enough that got me interested in football. And then watching Giants games with my grandfather, that's where I really got into the sport. And so in the Jets-Giants debate, I sided with the Jets. I don't know why. I guess I'm just a glutton for pain. I guess that balances out because I'm also a Yankees fan, so I could balance out the losing with the Yankees. But football for me goes all the way back then. It was actually funny. I always said, even close to this year, one of the games I went to that my dad took me to was the Jets-Seahawks game. And I actually fell in love with the Seahawks way back when. And the Seahawks blew out the Jets. Shocker, right? But my dad, he wanted me to be a Jets fan. I found a love for the Seahawks, but growing up, going to more Jets games, I always was a Jets fan. But little part of me is a Seahawks fan. I pull for them, I root for them. And when they won the Super Bowl and when they lost it, why didn't you run with Marshawn? I was there and I was running with it. But yeah, football first.
I will say a little bit Seahawks fan. I think a little bit more in 2020.
Just a little bit more. I mean, I couldn't be with that team. That team.
You were protesting Adam Gase.
I was protesting Adam Gase. I was protesting the treatment and the way that they were running the offense. When you have a pretty decent quarterback like Sam Darnold, you have to, watch how he plays and how he throws. And when you watch a lot of the tape that people like to use against Sam Darnold, it's a lot of drop balls. It's a lot of balls that they just didn't even go for. Like, I remember distinctly one play, Sam finally had like more than 2 seconds in the pocket, launches his moonshot for Bashar Perriman all the way down the end of the field, and Bashar Perriman just reaches up like this, but the ball just slides through his hands. He didn't even try to catch it. So, I seeing how the slander against Sam Darnold and seeing what the Jets are going to do, and pretty much Adam Gase, I couldn't be a Jets fan this season. And a lot of fans, a lot of guys I know that were lifelong Jets fans longer than me, they couldn't be Jets fans this season. It's just too tough. So we came back after the season after Gase was gone, but while Gase was there, it was worse than. I don't even want to say his name. It was this coach from the '90s. It has a last name with K. We're not going to say his name.
Okay. Get used to that. And just to speak on that idea of the going with the fan influence, right? And the idea that you're fan loyalty is, I mean, I guess, the camaraderie, the community, right? Everyone, you stick with your team, especially if you're from the area, but there's also a part of it that, is that part team constructed so that they always have fans? Oh, the fan loyalty, you always have to buy merchandise. And it in those instances, it almost puts, kind of the results aren't as important. You'll sell out the stadium no matter what because the fans are that devoted. But so there's never any incentive to do well outside of, okay, we want to do well enough to get into the playoffs, but outside of that, it doesn't matter if we're 8-8 or 1-15. Whereas if that was pushed a bit more, where no, these results are so bad that I'm refusing to go to games, buy merchandise. Obviously, this year going to games was a bit different, but in normal years, like spending money, investing on them, if they're not resulting well, it almost encourages teams to just not ever really try to get better. So the part of that is maybe being a responsible fan is not, if they're doing so poor, to take a step back and say, no, I refuse to support the machine.
And you're right. I mean, a lot of fans chose to step back. I mean, and it's just not Jets, but speaking with the Jets right now, the Jets lost money as far as merchandising sales because of Adam Gase, because they don't want to be a part of that team. And now that Adam Gase is gone, their sales is boosted. When a lot of the kids, buying Mekhi Becton shirts. I see all over my Jets Twitter because I have different universes for each Twitter for beat writers and whatnot. All over the Jets Twitter, Mekhi Becton T-shirts. People showing love for him and all the pancakes he gives out. It's great. Showing out for right now the big thing with Deshaun Watson. They want Watson, so a lot of people are adding Deshaun Watson, saying come to the Jets. A lot of people right now are breaking down Sam Darnold versus Zach Wilson, or Sam Darnold versus Justin Fields, or Fields versus Wilson, or some combination of the new quarterback. And they're pre-buying jerseys. They're pre-buying the guy's jersey. The guy could not even be drafted to the Jets, and they're buying his jersey already. So they'll be like, oh, hey, it was just this guy from a different time. It's fine.
I wonder if there are any Antonio Brown Bills jerseys that were made.
You know what? There probably are, and they're probably regretting them.
Eli Manning Chargers jerseys, anyone?
Oh. Ooh.
John Elway Colts jersey. Those got to exist somewhere, right?
Somewhere.
So that was your foray into football. Now, how did you transition from that to fantasy?
So transitioning to fantasy, I didn't transition until college. So 2013, obviously not that long ago, I started hanging out with this one group of guys in this fraternity, and this is where I got to give a shout out to Trevor Woodworth. He's also with the Full Press coverage team. He writes for Full Press Eagles. He is one of my closest friends in real life. We went to college together, him and the whole fraternity guys that I've known. I asked him what was fantasy football, and we started talking about it. And fantasy football just it piqued my interest, and so I was like, let me join this. And so I got into a league with them, and then I was like, and really enjoying it. So I said, you know what, let me get into more leagues. And so I got into more leagues, and I soon, long before that, I was in like 10 different leagues, and this is redraft. And then I started, talking with you guys in the Full Press Fantasy Pod, and I started talking to Stompy, and I started talking to James, and all the guys at the Superflex Pod Show. And I got into Superflex, and then I got into Dynasty and the guys at the Unfiltered Network, and then talking to Jeff on Going for Two. Like, it got me into Dynasty, and so I'm currently in so many Dynasty, Redraft, Superflex leagues, and now I'm even considering Debbie because of a podcast and you, and Bell did.
Yeah, Jeff Bell. Thanks.
Jeff Bell. Thank you. I'm sorry, Jeff.
That episode's not out yet, but look for that soon. From the Full Press Fantasy Pod. Thanks, Alessandro.
No, but just talking to different people, and fantasy really piqued my interest, and so I really got into it, and I've really got into it, and I do DFF. I even do the Reality Sports Online with you, Kyle, and on that league. So, whew.
Yeah, salary caps and contracts. I love it. I think it's the first time that's been brought up in the series.
Just trying to bring it all in, man.
Yeah, so again, quite the evolution through fantasy. I mean, my journey through fantasy hasn't been that long either. 2012 I started, so no, right there with you, buddy. Now, okay, so and you kind of talked about the idea of the transition of playing to podcasting. Now, kind of almost seamlessly happened. I think we were all kind of right place, right time at Full Press coverage, and it just kind of came together fairly organically. So good on that. But what advice would you give to someone who is looking to start out into the fantasy football content creation, whether it's writing, podcasting, or other forms of fantasy information?
If I was going to talk to someone and to come into fantasy football, I would tell them to abandon their team. Because when you do fantasy football, like, I'm still a Jets fan, you're still a Packers fan, we're going to root for our teams. But when we come into fantasy football, we have to build our own team. We have to be objective about it. And being fans of our own squad, we're never objective. I mean, we're still not objective in football, in fantasy football itself. I still draft some Jets players, even though I get told many times over that I shouldn't. And it's a crapshoot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're never objective. But if someone was coming into this, I would tell them to be objective and abandon your team for a little bit. Do some data, do some research, and talk with other people who've been doing it longer. I mean, I've started listening to more podcasts from other guys. I started reading some articles from ESPN, NFL.com, Going for Two, just all these different articles, because I need to get a lot of sources, and I couldn't be objective. And I would say, when you actually do come into the league, whether it's podcasting, I would suggest playing first, but whether it's podcasting, playing, writing, whatever, be objective, because players are going to play against your team. Okay, so it's like all right, I want to use when the Jets play the Cardinals this year. I'm not going to drop DeAndre Hopkins down from his top 5 perch down to 25 because, oh yeah, the Jets are going to smother him. So I think that they're going to do it because the Jets are the best team in the world. No, I'm not going to do that because he's a top tier talent player. The Jets got crap corners. I know the matchup. So when it comes to, you have to be objective about that. You have to be down. You have to degrade your team. You have to break it down to like the biggest molecule that you could possibly can. And then that's the only way to really get into fantasy football, because if you are not objective about it, then you are going to fail.
And I would assume the objective is not to fail.
Well, no, it's not to fail, but you're going to fail if you're not objective about it. If you're not,
Yeah, I know. Clever play on words there. I think the idea being, sorry.
What?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was interrupting, but I guess sorry. I guess the idea behind that is, okay. I thought you were telling me to stop talking. Which I suppose you're the guest, so I really shouldn't be talking that much.
Come on, Kyle. It's just like we got this back and forth. This is nothing new.
Yeah, of course. It's nothing new at all. Except for all you folks who've never seen it before. So, sorry, and you're welcome. and welcome to the show. For those just joining. Anyway, I think the idea of objective, but also be genuine. Right? Be true to yourself. Be honest with yourself as well. Be honest about obviously player evaluations, but like your understandings, your interests, where you're putting the most research. That generally those will be the areas where you'll have the most to share with people, and so I would say it's not necessarily maybe when you're creating content, you're probably going to have more quantity of research to do, but start with the areas that you're already researching in. Like you said, assuming people are playing fantasy football and then jumping into creating content for it, generally they'll probably be doing research on their own of some form anyway. So again, start with what you know. And this series is all about getting to know you. So talked about football, fantasy football, and I was going to transition, but you want to say something, so go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say really fast was that when you do research, everyone specializes in some type of research, whether it's team statistics, whether it's quarterback, wide receiver matchups, whether it's player versus player matchup. I mean, so everyone specializes in something. For me on the Full Press, I do injury reports and I do cornerback wide receiver matchups because I see that as the biggest effect of both. So everyone comes down to some kind of specialty of it. I mean, they don't have to be really good at it, but they do specialize, and that's where they focus on. I would say if you're going to focus on one thing, read articles of everyone else, because you're not going to have the full picture. We're just focusing in your specialty. You're going to have to draw from other sources.
Absolutely. I think there's so much information out there that, use the resources that are available. Obviously, incorporate that into your own research. But assuming you're jumping from playing to content creating, you're already got a certain baseline for what you're going to be discussing anyway. So, so good thoughts and advice, but less away from the fantasy football. I mean, unless of course that's your only hobby. But what are some of your favorite hobbies?
Well, some of my favorite hobbies now include going to the gun range to shoot, crafting. I've gotten really into woodworking, and I actually just built me and my wife a coffee table. Attempted to, I want to say. I mean, it's pretty good, but I mean, it's not to the wife's perfection. So I wanted to say it's pretty good. And then big fan of driving and working on cars. I currently own a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am 10th anniversary edition that my dad bought and my dad restored until he was no longer able to. And then after he passed away, I continue working on it and tinkering with it and doing things. So cars, guns, woodworking, eating coffee grounds, and then just pouring hot water down my throat. Just the manly things, really. No, that's pretty much
cars, guns, and woodwork.
Yeah, and eating coffee grounds and just pouring hot water down your throat. That's all you need to do. That's the only thing you need in life.
That last part sounds pretty crazy. You're talking guns, you're talking cars, talking creating things. Your life's basically Grand Theft Auto.
Hey, how do you know what I play? No. But speaking of that, I also play video games a lot. I play a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Warzone. And then hopefully if fans could get back in the stands, I got a couple of minor league teams around here that I go and I scout for unofficially. It's more like me and a little pencil book, just watching the game, crossing out, see who gets a bat, who gets a strikeout, that sort of thing. Because I used to play baseball, and I am a big baseball nerd. And pitchers and catchers report a day, and I'm so happy about it. Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear? Can you
Hey,
hear
there you
me?
are.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hear you now.
All right. So let's catch up. No, I think. So a good list of hobbies. So certainly, thanks for that. Pretty cool customer. So much that you froze both. Both you and I froze our videos. So pretty cool. Cool there. Um, so now, so you revealed already a few things. Obviously, as you mentioned, you've had some close friends in the fantasy stuff that is already known. What's one secret that you've kept? What's one thing the fantasy community, Senator?
Uh, I mean, for the most part, I've been more open about my life. The one thing I would say I've kept more close to the vest is that I've got to driven some very expensive cars in my life, which is why I have such an adrenaline rush and I like building stuff and driving cars. My dad, he was the foreign car investment liaison officer for the Port of Newark, where we used to live up north in New Jersey. And so what that means is that he would contact Maserati, Ferrari, Fiat company, McLaren, anyone and everyone who was importing from foreign countries their cars into the United States, mostly high-end supercars. And so my dad, when I used to go see him down the port, he would walk me through warehouses full of Ferraris, full of Lamborghinis, full of Maseratis, and I have photos of me and him standing next to a Ferrari Enzo. And I remember being about 10 years old. My dad let me get behind the wheel of it, and I was so nervous because when you start up a Ferrari, the start button's on the wheel. And so I didn't know that. So I'm here trying to figure out where the start button is, where to turn the key at. But, it's a higher end car. So all things are a little more exotic on it. And so I managed to start it up. I'm driving it. It's in a controlled area. So it's not like I'm on an open road, but it's a controlled area. But, my dad's just letting me just drive around and putt around like, yeah. And it lets me shift in neutral, rev the engine because it's a big V8 back there right behind you because it's like right behind you. And then, so it was one of the best experiences of my life. And that's what got me into GT3 racing and Formula One racing. And I mean, watching it with my dad got me into it, but just driving that Ferrari around and then driving the Lamborghinis around and just having fun in these $1 million cars. My father should never let me done it. Okay. But I got to do it, and I keep it pretty close to the vest because it reminds me of a time where it almost all went bad. So my dad, he was driving one of those cars. It had to go from the warehouse to a ship where it was about to be shipped out. My dad took me in it. And as we were driving it, he drove pretty fast because we had to get there. So I'm hearing that engine rev. I'm hearing. We get to the ship, and they're unloading the last of these old World War II vehicles. And so when they unload one on the main level and one from an upper level. Well, there is this old truck that the brakes gave out, and it was a heavy, old, dumb truck. And my dad parked the car right next to the ocean. So that way I opened the door, I got about this much between me and the ocean floor. And the dump truck came down from the upper level and it lost its brakes and it hit the rail where it's going down. And it got caught, stuck on the rails, and it was suspended right above me. And my dad had to get me in the car out of there, and he moved it not but a minute or two just before that truck came smashing down. And it just hit right in front of me, went right into the ocean. I was never more scared in my life than that. And my dad told my mom all that later. She freaked out. I was never able to drive ever again or go down there and do anything of that. But I've always kept that close to my vest because it was a really frightening moment, and it's not one I'd like to relive because of how close I came to getting crushed.
Yeah. Well, again, appreciate you opening up to that level. But yeah, the risk of cars, and that's the big danger there is almost a little ironic. But I gotta say, as a 10-year-old driving Ferraris and Lamborghinis, you've done something that most people will never do in their whole lives, let alone before
And
you're
I
legally able
have
to drive. So,
and
I
I
mean, that's
have the
pretty lucky
proofs.
in
And I
that.
have the proof. There's photos and there's a video of me driving around. I got fined. My mom, well, actually, my dad took it and sent it to my mom. I got fined, but I got photos of me in front of these Enzo Ferraris, in front of these Lamborghinis, in the damn thing, and driving one. I have to find it. It's somewhere within my mom's cache of old stuff that she keeps for all of her kids.
All right. So, again, appreciate you sharing so much. We're continuing, so it's not over yet. Now, if you could interview a person, anyone ever, at any point in time, who would you like to interview from a podcast perspective? It doesn't have to be about fantasy football, but just in general, even if it's a get to know you type of format like this.
Um, I'm gonna stick sports related because there's a lot of people that died way before me that I really want to interview, and even so with sports. But I'm just going to stick in the sports parameter. So if I had to choose a podcast with someone to do one of these with someone, honestly, I would do it with I would do it with a Yankees player. I just don't know which player because I'm torn between two guys. I'm torn between Whitey Ford and Lou Gehrig because so when I was playing baseball, I was a catcher. So I was an outfielder that turned to infield, which turned into catching. Did a little bit of pitching, but I had a good arm. I had no accuracy, and it was just terrible. It was. So I stick to catching and I stick to outfield. And so watching the Yankees, watching the pitchers and all that, you know what? If I had to choose someone, I actually would choose Whitey Ford. Um, Talking and seeing things about Whitey Ford and the heyday of him, and just all those guys, it would be something just to even talk to him. First off, and then second of all, it'd be something just to even see what kind of life he lived, like really lived, get the nuts and crannies, his own near death story, and see what kind of person. Because when we see sports athletes, we see them as gods. Like today is Michael Jordan's birthday and Jim Brown's birthday. Jim Brown, one of the all-time NFL greats. He led the league in rushing 8 of his 9 years into the league. He was a powerhouse, a formidable man. And then you got Michael Jordan, six-time athlete, basketball champion. He has won accolades from all pros, from just MVP votes. He is one of the GOATs. I have a problem saying that word because of my own thing, but he is one of the greatest. And so we see these athletes and we put them on pedestals, but when we get to talk to them, and like this, it brings them down, makes them human. And I want to know what kind of guy Whitey Ford was, because there's some things saying that he was a bad guy, that he was hard to work with, and there's other things saying he was this great guy and this. And I would love to know what he was like.
Get that perspective from actually interacting with them and makes your judgments off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Something more tangible. So yeah, just don't judge Senatore and Senra by the name. Get to know them. So yeah. Now, what is one revelation that you wish you had gotten earlier in your life?
As far as what? I mean, there's a lot of revelations.
Well, okay, this could be plural. Pick a few if you want. We have time.
One revelation I really wish I'd gotten earlier in life was the devastating effects alcohol and drugs have on people. I mean, it's something that you learn. It's something that you see later on in life, but when you're younger, we all went through DARE programs. We all went through some type of drug or alcohol program, especially kids in high school. They all go through that. Like, say no to drugs, kids. And they'll throw up mug shots of people. Like, here's a person on drugs, and here's a person on crystal meth. That we don't connect that way. And, going through college, going through my own life experiences, seeing the way people close to me in my life died from drugs and alcohol, I wish that someone would have told me sooner what it was like, to lose someone like that through something along those lines. So that way I could actually try to help it and stop it, because it was not a fun revelation to go through. And if someone would have told me that sooner, someone would explain to me, sat me down and actually explained to me, even in high school, say what it was like if you did this, if you led this, if you done this. I would probably be a different person right now. I would have been way different. There would probably been a few people alive now because of it.
Rather than some of these, maybe like the shock factor, like you're saying, is maybe too often utilized rather than just like facts and conversations about
something
how addictions work.
Yeah, bring it to a personal level, like personalize it and tell them what it's like. Don't give them like the highlight reel, the human highlight reel, as they call it. So that's one thing I wish,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think the more we're starting to understand the connections between body and mind, like body and brain, how those two things are so linked. So, and how addictions, which are mental illness, do have very tangible effects on one's body. And so maybe, having those connections more, maybe presenting it more from a brain behavior standpoint as opposed to a law standpoint, is maybe where get geared towards. If you don't mind me just like extrapolating that idea.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's a broad topic, and I mean, there's other revelations in my life that I wish would have happened. But I mean, this is a topic that hit home because I have lost people to alcohol and drugs, and they were close to me, and some of them were my own family members. So it's it's something that should be, for my own personal sake, something that needs to be explored more. I mean, there are healthy ways to go about it, and there's healthy ways to do it, but the way they do it in high school, the way they do it in most life settings is not, I don't think, effective. And so, if someone would explain to me what, these effects were, I would definitely would have 100% be a different person and try to go after those effects, because it's a devastating effect just from the before, the during, and the after of seeing someone hurt and seeing someone die from it. It's tough.
And I think that the one message, maybe kind of, not that we're here to solve all the world's problems.
No.
I don't think we're certainly capable. I don't think we have. I have an overinflated sense of ego, but not that huge. But just the one thing is that no matter how difficult it may seem when you're in that spiral, there's always lifelines for help. And and unfortunately, even in those most difficult moments, it's still on the person themselves to have to make that step, even if it seems like it's impossible. So just to everyone who's ever struggling with that, always remember that there's always people there. I mean, there's 7 billion of us on this planet, and obviously you're not obviously going to be able to ever meet everybody or talk to anybody or ever interact with everybody. But there's sometimes all you need is that one person to kind of help you get through that at times. So just always be searching when you need. So thanks for that. I do think some of the previous episodes of what kind of relations are just like idea philosophies of how to end and things like that. But it's, again, we're here to get to know people. So certainly, again, thank you for sharing so much. Didn't necessarily anticipate any of that, but I think, again, to anyone who's struggling, probably really appreciates hearing it from you in that sense. So on behalf of those people, thank you. Also, on behalf of me for coming on the show, thanks. I guess we get to the fantasy section of the show again. Circle back to that.
I mean, let's talk a little bit lively because we've been talking. It's not doom and gloom. It's not upsetting, but it is a harsh reality. So it's time to talk a little fantasy. It's time to talk a little happiness. It's time to talk about whatever it is you want to pick my brain about fantasy, even though you do it on a full press fantasy pod.
Consistently, pretty often. So consistency is important, right? But so I guess part of it is, I mean, does fantasy football help you as a coping mechanism?
I mean, I wouldn't say fantasy football is not a healthy coping mechanism. I have a lot better healthy coping mechanisms that I use. Fantasy football is just a happy outlet for me because I love football. It's ingrained in my DNA just as sure as baseball is ingrained in my DNA. I love it, and I love fantasy football. I love regular football. I'm going to find me a Debbie League, Kyle. I'm going to find me a Daily League. I'm going to be in it. I'm going to love that too. Okay.
Look at that. Jeff Bell told your interest in the format.
Yes, he did.
Told you. Okay, so I think for like any time I'm focusing on fantasy football, research for fantasy football, and anything about that is time not focusing on negative thoughts or anything that isn't so positive. Not to say it's the only good thing in my life. Clearly, it's not. But just I find it helps as a coping mechanism. When stress, just sometimes the aspect of control. This is my team. I have full control over this roster, whatever I want to do with it, whether it's make trades, additions, like it's just sit there and do nothing and think that this is the, I just want to stare at the roster. Sometimes that's fun too. But, I do think it's a very healthy outlet. So we'll get into fantasy. So just a couple of thoughts on and philosophies. What are your thoughts on zero running back, zero RB?
I hate it. No, I hate it. Look, whenever you look at these championship rosters, right, the guys that won the championship, they have either a very good or they have a decent quarterback, they have a very good wide receiver, and they have a very good running back, right? They can even have like a Hunter Henry type tight end, and they could have like a Jets defense or something. I don't know. But zero running back makes no sense to me because you're going to have to trade and you're going to have to grind and you're going to have to bargain with someone else to get a running back if you really truly go zero running back. Because some people just go zero running back for 1 or 2 rounds. Like if you go through the entire draft, zero running back, it's a stupid strategy.
I don't think so. The zero RB philosophy, maybe explain that a bit better, is like to ignore or let fall the running back position for a while, and then most of the zero running back strategy I hear is to hit running back heavy in the mid to late rounds. So you do have running back depth, but just no high end to it.
Well, see, I've only ever seen running back where they don't take running backs. Period. I've actually seen that.
Okay.
So
don't do that, folks.
Yeah, please don't, because that was a nightmare trying to get through that draft.
Just position scarcity alone tells you have to have running backs in your team somewhere. So, unless, of course, it's zero running backs. Just like you don't have to start. Everything's a flex spot. Like, okay, that's maybe viable there. But I would think mostly the zero RB philosophy is no running backs early, but running backs late.
Well, if we're going off of that philosophy, not the one experience I had that was just terrible, I still don't like it. Just because if we're going with your saying of philosophy, you're going to lose out on the really good running backs, and you're going to have to go after what effectively I would say are rookies, second stringers, possibly third stringers. So you're going to have to hope that they either make something on special teams, you got to hope that the first 2 running backs go down, 1 running back go down. If you have a second stringer, you're going to have to hope and pray. And then the other fact is you're going to have to hope that your wide receivers score enough points. Like you went after Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, you went after D-Hop. You got those guys in your lineup. Like they were going to get you a lot of points. So you're going to have to hope on the other positions. So if you're going to go zero running back, right, you better make sure you get Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, You want to hope that you got the Buffalo Bills defense or whatever high-scoring defense has at that point, and then you got LaMichael P. Ryan and Ty Johnson from the Jets as your running backs. I don't know. It's to me, it's not that effective of a strategy unless you have, you feel good about letting go about one of those top-tier guys, like giving up Michael Thomas for, say, DJ Dallas or Rashad Penny and two other guys or something like a collection, trade one guy for three guys. So it's that's how I see the trade I had this season. I gave up Julio Jones for DJ Dallas, Cam Akers, and Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, I didn't get a return on DJ Dallas because unfortunately he went down, and Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde came back. Fortunately, but Cam Akers went off. Juju was returning to some form that we used to see him in, and I still had DK, and I still had other top tier performing players. I had Lamar, I had Patrick. So you got to make sure that you have other guys, or you are a really good bargainer and you have like some side deal going on because you need a decent running back. It could even be go after Melvin Gordon if he starts for the Broncos next year. It could be going after, say, I don't know, J.D. McKissick, Adrian Peterson, like someone that will actually produce when they get the chance to get the rock. So it's just a matter of, do you trust it? And no, I don't trust it. I mean, I want at least one running back that's good. And my other running back can be some kind of scrub, say LaMichael P. Ryan from the Jets or something like that. I need a good running back. I need a good wide receiver. The rest of the team I could build around or build with.
So you might be more open to the modified zero RB, which is usually one early, whether it's round 1 or 2, maybe even 3, and then you ignore for a while, and then you're running back 2. You'll probably get them in the 8th, 9th round.
Yeah, I could definitely roll with that.
As long as you think you've got that guy that has that top 5 upside, kind of anchor your team, and you can kind of stream the RB2 position.
To me, you definitely want one top tier running back, one top tier wide receiver. I'm talking top 15 because there's a lot, because that top tier list is a big list. So I want to say top 15 running back, top 15 wide receiver, and then I want to say top 15 quarterback, or you can stretch it down to top 20 quarterback, and then you want, obviously, the tight end position is a crapshoot after Travis Kelce and George Kittle, but you want some guy, preferably a stack, and I would definitely take that. Let's say I have
Ryan Tannehill and Jonnu Smith, perhaps?
Sure, I'll take that. I mean, Jonnu's going to come to New York anyway.
I should have said Sam Darnold and Chris Herndon, shouldn't I?
No, you should have said Sam Darnold and Jonnu Smith, since
okay.
The Jets probably going to go after him because Herndon is not producing. But, no, like some guy like, Tannehill and Smith. Like, you want some kind of production where you're going to get some targets, and you're definitely going to want top-tier guys on wide receiver and running back, so.
All right, yeah. So that's zero RB in a nutshell, folks.
Big nutshell.
You can kind of modify it, and I think again, strategies. I know last episode Peter Howard was quite fond of it. Just again, more the principle of getting those running backs late, those guys you think are an injury away, like you said, the backups, the second stringers, maybe the rookies come on the season late, like. They're cheap targets, especially in redraft, and regardless of what you do early, maybe to always target them late anyway. Now, what is your preferred league format?
So my preferred league format is I used to be big on redraft, especially a wide receiver boosted redraft. Now I'm more into dynasty, and I'm in one league where it's a dynasty league. It's not super flex, but it is tight end premium, and I've actually been liking that a lot more because it gives the tight ends a real fighting chance. Because, like I said, it's a crapshoot after top 2 tight ends, top 3 if you want to throw Darren Waller in there. So it's more of a crapshoot, and you definitely get more use out of guys, and it definitely sways the value just a little bit. And I'm starting to like dynasty a lot more. I'm not gonna let go of redraft ever. So, and if I had to choose something in redraft, I would choose a redraft league, keeper redraft league that puts an emphasis on wide receivers. I was in one of those. I got out of it because it was a bad situation. And if you ever get stuck in a situation like that, just leave. It's better to leave the league and to deal with all of it. So.
And that's not even usually team dependent. Like, oh, my team's bad. It's not like I just the people in this
No,
league.
the league is bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a league. It's not even the rules or the settings. It's the people in it. So yeah, definitely good advice. Don't ever feel afraid to leave a league, especially if it's because of the people in the league. You just if you don't want to spend time interacting with them, you don't feel forced to, for sure. That's good advice. Great advice. And so. What's one? So you preferred format. Seems like quite a long range of preference of format, which is good. Might be open to any format, but what's one rule setting that or scoring setting or rule that you feel you must have in every league?
I don't have a preference as far as rule or setting. I mean, like I said, I like tight end premium leagues. They definitely, especially in Dynasty, they give a sway to tight ends, make them a little bit more valuable. But I don't have that big rule or setting. Like, if it's not tight end premium, it's like, no, I'm not going to play in the league. No, I'll still play in it. It's not against that. It's just I don't mind it. I mean, I'll play anything. I'll try to prove I'm really good in whatever throws my way.
All right, and now maybe a bit back to fantasy history, I suppose. Who's your all-time fantasy QB1, RB1, wide receiver 1, and tight end 1?
Is this guys I have to own? Because if that's the case, it's going to be a very
no. Whoever, like, if you had to all-time pick every NFL players available to you, who are you taking at each of these positions?
Wow. So for QB1, I would have to go with Peyton Manning, QB1. For RB1, I'm going to pick a homer pick. I'm going with Curtis Martin. A little bit homer pick. I mean, he's still a Hall of Famer, so it's not like it's bad, but it's a homer pick.
I thought you'd go with LT on the homer pick.
I wanted to go LT, but Curtis Martin was more homegrown talent, and I think I gotta see if this is true. But I think he got more fancy points because he just got more touchdowns when he was with the Jets. For wide receiver 1, you said I can have anyone? I'm going with Jerry Rice then.
Yeah, shocker, right?
I mean, come on, man. It's him or Moss. And then for tight end 1,
how much you like Moss?
Right. For tight end 1, I'm going to have to go with Gronkowski. I mean, it's either Gronkowski or Tony Gonzalez. So those are the only two options for me.
Yeah, fair list for sure, I think. Definitely, yeah. Those are all great good players. I mean, I suppose knowing how much you like the Jets, Curtis Martin shouldn't have been that much of a surprise, but be the only interesting one there. But yeah, a very productive running back. So now we'll get to a section called High Fives. So top 5 of 5 different categories. So we're going to start with rock and roll, or maybe. But who are your top 5 artists or bands?
Oh, look, we are starting with rock and roll. Okay, yeah. So Van Halen, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Rat, Y&T.
Rat. Hey, I'm not judging.
Listen, my dad had old vinyls, right? So I would listen to them, and so I still have old vinyls of Bon Jovi, Rat, Van Halen. So I would listen to them on the actual vinyls. And so that I loved them. So I listened to them like that. I got to go to some of the concerts.
Sweet.
Instead of Y&T, I'll say Metallica.
All about the hair metal, right?
Yeah, man. You don't lose mine.
Yeah, I think I got longer hair right now. I'm the hippie long hair over here. All right, so let's say artists. They're all bands, but yeah, not shocked by the rock content, that's for sure. Top 5 books or novels.
Top 5 books. So Percy Jackson, that whole series, I'm a fan of. The Art of War, I'm a fan of. Um, let's see what else. There is Telltale Hearts and that whole Edgar Allan Poe collection because I got a book in there. It's an old collection of it. Tale of Two Cities, and I don't know. I guess I would have to say I got a book. It's the Sherlock Holmes series and all of his escapades.
Yeah,
love Sherlock Holmes
for sure. So yeah, collections of some great stories there for sure. Now, top 5 movies.
So top 5 movies. My all-time top 5. My number 1 will be Gladiator.
Yeah, I knew that one.
Yeah, it's just great, man. I know it's another Russell Crowe movie, but Master and Commander. Let's see what else. SWAT. New SWAT, not with Samuel L. Jackson and Colin Farrell.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen New SWAT.
Well, it's a newer SWAT. I mean, I know they made one back in like the 70s or 80s or something like that.
Okay, that is the newer one. Sorry, yes,
Yes.
I have seen the good one. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm at 3. The Gentleman. That's becoming one of my new favorite ones. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's really great. And then I guess I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm going to throw the entire Disney movies, like the old Disney movies, into that category for the last one.
Okay, one giant Disney movie.
Yeah,
takes 50 hours to watch, but yeah, it's a great movie.
I mean, if you got Toy Story and Lion King and all of them in there, yeah, sure. Let's just throw that into one giant collection.
Co-host Kayla will be happy you mentioned Toy Story, I'm sure.
It's good for Kayla.
All right, well, feed us with some more knowledge here. What are your top 5 game day foods?
Oh, burgers, wings, tacos, pizza, and pierogies.
Pierogies, nice.
Yeah, my mom, she's Polish on that side, so I ate pierogies growing up, and they're so nice because once you fry them up a little bit in the pan, you can just grab them and go, and you bite them. You're just watching the game. It's like eating a wing, but it's Polish.
Senator and Senra share a bit of ancestry. I know Portuguese mostly on my side, but my maternal grandmother does have Polish descent as well, so another connection. High 5, so 5 categories. Final one. What are the top 5 worst fantasy football rules or settings? I know we talked about which ones you like, but what are the 5 you want to avoid and get rid of in all leagues?
I want to get rid of QB boosted leagues. Listen, the QB scores enough. I don't need to see QBs with 90 points on the damn table, okay? Especially if you got Patrick Mahomes. I don't need to see that. Wide receiver boosted, tight end boosted. I'll even go with defense boosted. I don't need to see quarterback boosted leagues, and I've seen them. Oh, that should not be a thing, and there are things about it. So that needs to go away. Another thing that needs to go away is non-punter leagues. Yes, so there's this guy I follow. He's in a kickers and punters league where they just draft kickers and punters. And when they tried to make that an actual league and incorporate into whatever dynasty format they were going to try to incorporate into, it wouldn't be allowed. And I'm like, come on, guys, punters and kickers are people too. So that rule of kicking out punters as well, that needs to go away.
So how do punters score? I'm just curious.
Well, from what the guy broke down to me is that when you punt the ball, if you get it within the 20, and it stays there, like wherever the end of the play is, if you get it within the 20, it's a point. If you get, actually, I think it goes 30. So 30, it's a point. 20, it's 2 points. Within 10, it's 3 points. Within the 5, it's 5 points. Touchback is -1 point. and if they return for a touchdown, that's negative 6 points. And then I think he said they if they get the ball back, like they punted and they get the ball back, that's positive 6 points. And like he had this entire rules sheet list, and I'm like, this is amazing, actually.
Yeah. I'd have figured it would have gone like distance of punts and stuff like that, but not necessarily where the ball landed. But yeah, that is interesting.
I'm like, can I join this league? Like, this would be awesome.
Although, I mean, again, going for two, not sure that Jeff appreciates any kicker talk that is unsolicited, but I mean, again, getting to know you, so you can talk about whatever you want. And I know that maybe be the one fundamental issue you'd have with Jeff Lambert, because I know what do you always say, Alessandro?
Kickers are people too, damn it.
So yeah, so
all right, so those two formats. Another format that I do not like is the point system. Like, I want it to be full points. I'll take the point whatever, blah 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 blah. But like, I've seen people win by .01. Like, either just let us tie it and do another round, or do like a bonus or whatever, or let someone lose. But like, winners and losers, we need to keep it constant. Again, I have no control over that. It's not going to go away. But I mean, if it could just be a solid point, that'd be great.
Decimal point scoring. That's a hot take to want to go against that. But yeah, let's hear it. So do you have are there two more league rules or settings that you do not like?
Well, I mean, I just got one more setting. People that use boosted stats. And when I say boosted, I mean across the board boosted. So there was this one league at my work, and I was tempted to join it until they showed me the stats. So quarterbacks, they normally get 0.25 per yards, 0.1 for rushing and whatnot. In this one, they get 0.5 points per yard. They get 0.2 points per rushing yard, and like everything else is either doubled or tripled. And they'll boast these big point scores. I prefer smaller ones. Like, either give me normal or make one person boosted. But to have everyone boosted, it's going to skew results. It's going to skew metrics. And it's not going to keep things really fair because, if your quarterback going to run the ball and throw the ball. And, like, let's say you got Lamar Jackson. He's going to throw it forever now. And now he's going to score 200 points. And the other guy's got Sam Darnold, and he's not going to get anything, but he's got some points to keep you relevant, and then that guy with Sam Darnold wins because of another skewed metric. So I wasn't a fan of that, and I know it's not a very popular occurrence, but like I was just not a fan of that, and it just irked me, and I guess that's the only thing left I have for that.
Which, to be fair, almost ties into your first point of you don't like the inflated quarterback scoring, and just in general, you just see, avoid the inflated position score. I mean, the main ratio in conventional scoring has been figured out for a reason.
I mean, I'm fine with some inflated scoring, but it has to be non-quarterback inflated scoring, because quarterbacks in most settings, especially in dynasty settings, are inflated. I mean, I remember when Stompy was talking to us about you don't leave that draft within the first 5 rounds of at least 3 quarterbacks. I mean, that's it. That's inflated. I mean, honestly, even if it's super flex or not, he still said don't do that. That's an inflated price for me. I mean, now we're putting an emphasis on quarterback and leaving all these wide receivers and running backs who are good to go to someone else. Inflation on one position, like the quarterback, I'm not a big fan of. But inflation on other positions, I am a fan of, because we're putting an emphasis on the talent, Because I could go onto the football field, throw a little 5-yard pass to, say, Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams runs 98 yards to a touchdown, right? But I still get the yardage because he did all the work. But I got the thing. So that's why I prefer boosted on other places, not quarterback.
I mean, you mentioned tight end premium, right? Being a place where you'd rather see the scoring boosted for any position. All right. Well, boost to this series to have you on, Alessandro. So thank you very much for sharing your time with us and sharing your story.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Oh, absolutely. I do enjoy talking to you. as all the episodes of Full Press Fantasy Pod will
Well, I
show.
hope so. I mean, Kyle, come on. Do I need to bring Kayla in this? Do we need to have a talk again? Come on.
Again, we're just ending this talk. No, but again, greatly appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to share with people? Plug, talk about work?
Follow me on Twitter at am_senator. You'll find me ranting about something mostly about the Jets currently because of this whole quarterback controversy. But I'm going to start putting out articles for Full Press Fantasy Pod and for the Unfiltered Network. I'm going to start putting out there now if I can ever get in contact with my fantasy manager. And we're going to see a lot more fancy contact, especially on the Full Press pod. Trying to get something out there. So if my contact over there can ever get something going.
If you've got an article ready, you have to tell me that so I can put it out.
I'm just kidding. But no, I am going to start writing them more. Currently, I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet of all the incoming NFL rookies that are coming to the combine. Well, there is no combine, but the combine and all that. Like I have a spreadsheet for this year, and going forward, I'll have one for every year.
All right, so look for that to spread the love. Bountiful sheets of plenty of data and data. But yes, again, greatly appreciate you, Alessandro. Greatly appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. Young show, here at Going for Two, this whole 2021 year introduced a ton of new programming. So again, check all that out at Going for Two Live, at Going for Two, at Jeff Lambert 77. Jeff's, again, our Lord and Savior at Going for Two, and he takes care of all of us. So all the content will flow through him as well. So check out those sources, but you can follow me at Senra Says. As mentioned, Alessandro's at am_senator. You know that one really well. I say that a lot. And again, check him out as well as me on the Full Press Fantasy Pod at FPC_Fantasy Pod. And in a couple weeks, come back to this episode, but certainly in the meantime, tons of other great podcast episodes will be out. Gladys next Monday. I know this is usually a Monday show. Some difficulties with scheduling forces here, but next Monday, Gladys will have 2-point conversion. Basically, the plan is Gladys and I will be alternating Mondays, so every Monday night except this one, this week's, should have some form of content out there. So always check out everything Going for Two. Again, thank you very much, Alessandro. See you next time when I remember how to speak.
On the Full Press Fantasy Pod. No. But thanks for letting me. Come on, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Always appreciate talking to you, Alessandro, and thank you all for watching Press